Hi, everybody. Today I'm answering the question, can a power of attorney be a paid caregiver or a paid individual? The answer to this question is yes. However, in order to do this correctly and legally and to avoid potential family conflict or drama or becoming involved in a court matter, there are a number of things to consider. Number one, is the power of attorney agent under medical or financial power of attorney intended to be a family member or a friend who is also a caregiver? Or will this person be a paid professional fiduciary who does this type of work as their full-time career? Stay with me while I share 4 things to consider so that you don't run into trouble if you intend to make your power of attorney agent a paid family or paid friend caregiver, or if on the other side you are the power of attorney agent and you are a friend or a family member. The considerations around this and the context is so important. And I know this from 25 years of professional experience serving as a professional fiduciary for 11 years of my career. If this is your first time here, I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert who helps older adults and their caregivers navigate the health, financial, and legal aspects of caregiving, including all of the complexities of family relationships. More information about me is below this video. There are links to my website, PamelaDWilson.com. So let me first give some background and some context around the person appointed as agent. I have known elderly people who appointed their agency caregiver, somebody at a grocery store, their cleaning lady, somebody at their church, because they didn't have anybody in their family that they trusted. In many of these cases, their friends were as old as they were, and they were concerned about their friends' ability to help them when they needed it. Now, the trouble with appointing an agency caregiver is that the agency caregiver who accepts this role, that is a conflict of interest for that agency caregiver because it's establishing a personal relationship. And that role of power of attorney agent, it's really not in the scope of the caregiver's job description. Although I have seen this happen, and a lot of times it causes problems. On the other hand, if we look at a grocery store person or a cleaning lady or somebody at the church, these people may be really, really nice people and well-intended, but they probably have no idea of the responsibility they are accepting and the skills that are required. And then we have family members. Family members can be the absolute perfect people, but sometimes not perfect. If there are issues with gambling or substance abuse or mental health issues, job instability, siblings who don't get along, sometimes a son or a daughter who is a power of attorney agent can become surprisingly controlling and isolate a parent from seeing their other siblings or family members. Or maybe they put a parent in a nursing home just to get them out of the way because it's the easiest thing to do when mom or dad would have never made that choice. All of these unpredictable and sometimes crazy scenarios can be avoided by selecting the right person in your family or a friend, being very thorough, or hiring a third party to do this. So where do you find third parties? A good elder law attorney, an estate planning attorney, a probate attorney who creates these legal documents is probably pretty likely to have connections with companies, with agencies, with fiduciaries who serve in these roles. So the number 2 important thing is, who created the power of attorney documents? Was it an elder law, a probate, or an estate planning attorney? Or was it just something that got downloaded from the internet? Now, I ask this question because a well-drafted document, considering all of the kinds of things that you may not even think about, can alleviate problems later, and it can also have provisions to pay the agent for their work. Now, that being said, payments can't be crazy. They have to be at a fair market value for the services provided. And this is where compensation for a family member versus a professional fiduciary can differ. The fair market value for a family member who really has not much experience managing medical care or even financial matters may be in the range of $20 to $30 an hour, while a family member who maybe has education or special skills, or maybe they're a nurse or a CPA or something like that, those rates can be higher. Now, professional fiduciaries set their own rates based on their experience, membership in organizations like the National Guardianship Association, I'm a member of that, or another certifying association, and in some cases, rates for fiduciaries are set by state probate systems. And so if you go on a fiduciary's website, more than likely they should have their rate sheet there, so you can get a pretty good idea of what that is. So the next one is, number 3, if you are the power of attorney agent, if you accept those responsibilities, make sure you understand your role, your legal role, your responsibilities, what you can and what you can't do, what actions that you take that might be considered by other people as elder abuse or financial exploitation. I know so many family members who were appointed power of attorney who did things that were not for the benefit of the person who appointed them. And problems happened. They ended up in court. They ended up causing all kinds of unexpected issues. If you're in this role, it's important to avoid any situation that can look like it's a conflict of interest. A very simple example of this would be you are the power of attorney and you decide to pay your brother or your sister or your kids to be a caregiver for a parent, when really there's a more qualified person out there who could do this. So those are simple considerations. And along with those, you want to create and keep extremely detailed time logs. What you did, the date you did it, how long you took to do it, why this was even necessary, how it benefited the person, receipts, credit card receipts, bank statements, copies of checks, everything. You can never have too many notes or records, especially if you are in a situation where you're questioned about your actions by other family members, or somebody takes you to court and you have to prove exactly what you did and why you did it and how much money you spent. Transparency in these situations extremely important. If somebody else can do a task at a lower cost than as this fiduciary, you have a duty to hire and pay that person and not do the work yourself just because you want to be paid. All of this can be so complicated for family members and friends to manage. Now, professionals usually, I say usually, right, work under standards of care. And so they know clearly what they can and what they can't do, all of the documentation requirements, the reporting requirements, transparency, all of that. Next one, Medicaid. If Medicaid, and I'm saying Medicaid, not Medicare, is even a potential consideration, check with your state Medicaid program about paying family members to act in a power of attorney role. Find out if contracts are required, whether training is required, whether background checks or other qualifiers are necessary, or if it's not even allowed at all. Because if you don't do this and your loved one needs to apply for Medicaid, the fact that you were that fiduciary and you did not understand and you did not check into the guidelines can disqualify your parent or your loved one from being accepted into the Medicaid program. And that can be a huge problem. Last and probably the most important, talk about all of this in your family. with your parents, all of your siblings. Now I know sometimes parents don't want to have these discussions. If they don't want to have the discussion, refuse to accept the appointment until they do, because this role for you can create a lot of unexpected problems when your siblings may be upset that you were appointed, or they disagree with what you're doing because mom and dad never fully expressed their wishes, they didn't put them in writing, your siblings are disagreeing with what you're saying your mom and dad wanted. There can be all kinds of problems. Family members and friends, everybody in these situations, create a written caregiver contract and create a separate compensation contract. What you will do, how long you will do it for, how you will be paid. Look into whether you should be an independent contractor or an employee. Make sure you're recording your income, paying taxes. Hire a payroll company to do this for you. File your taxes, all of that. Talk to a CPA, an attorney, a tax planning professional. Do not take any shortcuts in these areas, because these are the situations that end up in knockdown, drag out court litigation. I know, because I'm an expert witness. Too many family caregivers rely on verbal agreements. And while verbal agreements, verbal contracts are enforceable, if you're the agent, in my opinion, your role will go so much smoother if everything is in writing, if it's drafted by an attorney, if it's notarized, if it's signed and witnessed. And while going to this extent may seem extreme, these steps, they're the best path to avoid any potential family disagreements and conflict. They're the best path to avoid ending up in court if there is a dispute. So if your parent is at all hesitant, tell them that this is a must and explain why, or actually have them watch this video. If there are any potential disagreements at all between you and your siblings, and you're the one who's going to be appointed, and sometimes even if there's not, because people have habits throughout their lifetime, and then all of a sudden money becomes an issue, and people's personalities and their desires can change. If you're the person who's appointing somebody, insist on contracts, insist on agreements. Don't leave yourself open to unintentional medical neglect or abuse or financial exploitation, because these power of attorney documents, they work both ways. It's the person appointing and it's the person accepting, and everything needs to work perfectly together for all of this to work. If you're looking for more information on power of attorney or guardianship or conservatorship, there are a lot more videos here on my channel. Before you leave, please do like this video, follow my channel, comment, even if it's only to say thank you. One little thank you or a comment helps other people find their way here. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. There are also links below this video to my website, ways to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me, my podcast, my online courses on my website, my caregiver library, my blog, so much helpful information.